Hi, everybody. We are here with Devin, and he has lost 30 pounds in about 3 months. But the most important thing is he is putting his diabetes into remission, so it'll no longer be a part of his story. Devin, thank you so much for being here today.
Sure.
So, tell me a little bit about what life was like. Like, what was your health journey like the last, I don't know how many ever years? What were things like before we started?
Um, Tired, aches, pains, not being able to keep up with my young kids, nearly as much, uh, foggy brain. So I mean, it's a long list, and then various on and off chronic issues of digestion, like heartburn and things like that, for years and years. I mean, since I was a teenager, and then carrying around all the weight. I mean, when you lose a large chunk of weight, you definitely feel a lot lighter. You can feel it in your back and your legs. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so okay, and I remember when we started, you had talked about like morning stiffness and acid
Mhm.
reflux, the brain fog for work, stuff like that. What were your fears, thoughts before starting? Like starting another weight loss program or health program to get healthy.
Um, well, of course, you have the fleeting thought of, well, it's yet another program or diet or whatever it is, and how long is it going to last? Um, but also, you get I was afraid of things like fasting because I'd never done a fast before for any reasonable amount of time, anything more than 24 hours. Um, and then of course food is always important, especially when you're overweight. I mean, you're an eater, and so that was a consideration as well. But yeah. um and then I think when you don't feel well, committing to something else, when you already have a job and family and everything else going on, it just feels like an unnecessary burden. So
Yeah. So based on that, because I think a lot of people feel that, like, oh, it's another thing to do. Now that you've done it, talk to us about your experience and what you feel now.
yeah, so I feel a lot more energy. Aches and pains have gone away except for if I'm exercising, and so the obvious pains you get with that. I can keep up with my kids better. My brain is, I feel, definitely sharper, less foggy. And I kind of discovered I would be kind of depressed a little bit here and there, and didn't quite realize it. So most of that has gone away just from even getting out in the sun on a daily basis and getting some good sunlight. Um, and Being able to move around more. I find myself, just even getting off the floor after playing with my kids or something, and not feeling any of the or the pains that I used to feel, and the just the sheer weight of having to lift up. So yeah, I mean, it's a huge improvement. And A lot of the digestive issues have faded away. So and just even discovering it that you're diabetic when you didn't even know before going into the program. um, and then seeing that number come down dramatically, that's a big benefit as well. um, yeah.
It's pretty awesome. I'm really proud of you. So a lot of people come and they have health stuff going on that they don't even realize because they've just been living with it for the last 5, 10 years. And then you
Yeah.
start and they're like, holy cow, I didn't even know I had something like thyroid issues or diabetes or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
for
cool.
sure.
So talk to us a little bit about, so we use key cards to help build the muscle of self-discipline because a lot of us have told ourselves so many times that I'm going to follow through and then we don't.
Mhm.
Um, how much do you think that that has helped you in the process, like having tools to actually implement the food program?
I think key cards are awesome. I've always liked checklists in general, but this is different. And so it gives me something that I glance at and like, have I done that thing for the day? It's helped me stay on track on a daily basis. So I really appreciate it. I mean, here's this is just one of them I've got for this week. And I've got things on there now that I wasn't expecting. I mean, I've got lots of different exercises that I'm doing that I wasn't before, not even close. So I mean, I'm starting to do sprints, things like that. To so yeah, I think the key cards are a great way to track information.
Super cool. And you also have started writing affirmations every day.
Mhm.
How do you feel? Do you see those changing who you are, your identity, by doing the action of that every day?
Yeah, I was actually a little bit skeptical, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, I think that it does help. It kind of helps me or reminds me what my goals are in the long term of, who I want to become, kind of thing. Um, and also keeps me a little bit accountable, because I can find myself not being whatever I'm saying I am. So kind of feel like a hypocrite if I write that down. So it does help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. If you were to go into a time machine and talk to the Devin, let's just even say 5 months ago, um, what would you say to him? Now, knowing how good you feel and how fast this can happen, and that he can
Mhm.
actually learn to trust himself, what would you tell him?
Um, well, I mean, for one, I would say fasting is not nearly as hard as you think. So, because I really do believe fasting has been a huge factor in a lot of this. There's lots of mental factors as well, just getting over the general hump of, oh, another program, or oh, this scary program that, someone's going to tell me what to do. And just to stay on track, because it's so easy to wander off of things, diets and other things. So I mean, it's definitely uh, this has all come together to be very helpful. But yeah, just being, you can push through it. Um, you just have to put a little more effort in. So.
Yeah, very cool. I only have two other questions. One of them would be, what do you think separates your experience at Final Key versus other nutrition programs out there?
Um, well, for one, I'm sure a lot of nutrition programs out there are probably not even pushing the correct sort of diets or fasting. I mean, a lot of the mainstream ones are not healthy at all. But yeah, I mean, and I think some of the mental factor that you present, and some of the interesting information that you learn over time and share with the group, that's been very helpful. And your just ongoing knowledge, and accountability does help. um and um and then the key cards, I think, were definitely helpful. And I just never thought something as silly as writing down a few goals on a card would help, but it does. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you. And what are you most proud of yourself for through your journey?
Um, Staying consistent. So I mean, I've been in this program a few months, and I think I've won every single card except for one, and that was only because I hurt my ankle and couldn't finish one of the last walk. But otherwise, I mean, sticking to all those things, because I mean, before I'll start exercise, maybe do it maybe a week at most, and then kind of just peter out and I moved on to something else. So, and then the fasts, just sticking through the fasts and, you know, realizing that they're not as bad as I thought. So, yeah.
So awesome. So thank you everybody for listening. If you listen, I would really appreciate if you click the like button and the subscribe. It doesn't feel like a big action to take, but it actually means a whole lot so that we can get our message out far and wide. It's hard for natural health messages to get out there when there's a big other narrative. So just by clicking these two things really helps. Thank you, and thank you, Devin.
Thanks.